A decade after his death in 2009, Michael Jackson's appeal shows no sign of waning, as he continues to rake in tens of millions of dollars in profits each year, making him the top-earning dead celebrity for the 7th year in a row. However, although the Jacksons' estate's profits are looking more fruitful than ever, this is a stark contrast to Jackson's finances when the artist was alive. Jackson's earnings were boosted significantly through royalties on his own music, as well as his multiple revenue-generating assets. However, these assets were subject to a mounting $500 million abyss of debt, which he left when he died in 2009. Banks and credit companies refused to provide the King of Pop with any more cash loans after 2007. With nowhere to go, Jackson effectively buried his head in the sand before being bailed out by multiple billionaire friends and work associates. But even those avenues ran dry eventually. But for an artist that was so successful in his own right, earning billions in his lifetime, how did Michael Jackson ever accumulate such a huge amount of debt that he was effectively tapped out and strapped for cash at the end of his life? Here's the detail. The story of Michael Jackson's financial demise starts with the bombshell hit in 1993, when he was accused of molesting a 13-year-old boy, Jordan Chandler. Michael Levine, his publicist at the time, has said, "That kind of represents the beginning of the walk down a tragic path, financially, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and legally." After months of 24/7 press speculation, crippling legal fees, and a tour cut short because of Jackson's deteriorating health, Jackson settled with the boy's family in January 1994 for $23 million. It was at this time Jackson took out a $30 million loan, a figure that would only continue to grow. When he ran into further financial problems, he agreed to a deal with Sony in 1995 to merge ATV with Sony's library of songs, receiving $115 million, along with a guaranteed $6.5 million a year, which had increased to $11 million annually in 2008. After releasing his comeback album and worldwide tour for History, Jackson's debt continued to grow to $140 million by 1998. The CPA testified that Jackson's tours in the 90s were not moneymakers. Jackson reportedly broke even on the Dangerous tour and lost $11.2 million on the History tour. Then in 2001, he used his half of the ATV assets as collateral to secure $200 million in loans from Bank of America. As his financial problems continued, Jackson began to borrow large sums of money, according to a 2002 lawsuit by Union Finance and Investment Corp. that sought $12 million in unpaid fees and expenses. In 2003, Jackson was arrested on charges that he molested another 13-year-old boy. During that trial, which ended in an acquittal, details of Jackson's finances were trawled over. One accountant testified that he had an ongoing cash crisis and was spending $20 to $30 million a year more than he earned. No one knows for sure what he spent his fortune on, but there was a clue in Martin Bashir's 2003 documentary, in which the singer splashed out $6 million in a single store on a shopping trip. During forensic investigations into Michael Jackson's finances, Michael's basic no frills, no luxuries, or excluding other mortgages, properties, taxes, loans, cost of living, averaged an astonishing $2,339,300 per month. Jackson reportedly spent the majority of his money on donations to charity, gifts, travel, art, and furniture. His Neverland Ranch and its mini theme park with its maintenance staff, zoo, and train that traveled around the property was also a huge drain on his income. Memorabilia auctions were frequently announced, but became the subject of legal wrangling and were often canceled. Time and again, however, Jackson found a way to wring out cash out of high-value assets, borrowing tens of millions at a time or leaning on wealthy friends for advice, if not money. Jackson was forced to defend himself against a slew of lawsuits in the final years of his life, including a $7 million claim from Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the second son of the King of Bahrain. Al Khalifa took Jackson under his wing after his acquittal, moving him to the small Gulf estate and showering him with money. In his lawsuit, Al Khalifa claimed he gave Jackson millions of dollars to help shore up his finances, cut an album, write an autobiography, and subsidize his lifestyle, including more than $300,000 for a motivational guru. The lawsuit was settled in 2008 for an undisclosed amount, and neither the album nor book was ever produced. Interest on the loans grew over the years, ranging a little less than 7 to 16.8% annually. Consistently, Michael Jackson's largest expenditure was on interest for loans he had. Jackson had annual interest payments of $30 million when he died in 2009. Jackson was said to have still been making an annual income of $19 million. But the singer had not released any new material since the album Invincible in 2001, which had not been a success, and had not performed live for over a decade. A final piece of the financial jigsaw fell into place in March 2009, when billionaire Philip Anschult's concert promotion company AEG Live announced it would promote 50 shows in London's O2 Arena. Tickets sold out, and the first show of This Is It was set for July 8th. Ultimately, though, he left another financial mess at AEG, the owner of the O2 Arena in London. According to Billboard magazine, more than $85 million worth of tickets were sold, and AEG had already spent $30 million on the production. Reports also suggested that the firm was only insured for the first 10 nights of the residence, as insurers were wary of the singer being fit enough to play all 50 nights, leaving AEG with a potential insurance liability of up to $450 million. Although Michael Jackson's This Is It concert series was painted at the time as the biggest musical comeback of the decade, Michael Jackson's last opportunity to perform at his best and successfully take back his crown as King of Pop. It is now clear it wasn't a decision made for such noble artistic reasons. As Michael Jackson faced imminent and catastrophic financial ruin, the concert series appeared to be Jackson's last opportunity to get him out of the depths of debt he rapidly accumulated over his lifetime. It was estimated that he could have made up to $500 million if he had completed the 50 shows in London, and later continued to take the show around the world. Tragically, Jackson died on June 25, 2009, mere weeks before his first show was scheduled, leaving behind his immense mountain of debt, but also a priceless legacy that's universal appeal will continue to generate billions for many years to come. Tune in to one of our latest MJ videos here, and also check out our online store for original Jackson-inspired styles and gifts. Thank you for watching The Detail. We'll see you next time.